Well, it's that day we've been waiting for. It's finally here with us. The final round of conversations here on AFCON today, which is live on Joy Prime on 281 on DSTV and also on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, later on Joy, the guys are going to take over with another conversation on Prime Ticket. So this is it. We are getting ourselves into the groove for the final set of games. Well, Nigeria and Côte d'Ivoire, the hosts, are going to battle it out for that very big silverware. And of course, you just saw that video of the official song between Magic System and Yemi Alade. Isn't that so coincidental? Isn't that so coincidental? This is something we were just talking about off air. And sure, it's going to be a very interesting time as we also take a look at what we'll be expecting in the third place game. And the third place game is one that is a subject for debate year in, year out, tournament in, tournament out. Because, you know, by the time the teams get to play the third place game, they all are still thinking about losing out on the final spot. But we'll get all of those conversations into perspective here as we look ahead to the games for this weekend. My name is Nathaniel Atto. It's great to be in your company this afternoon. And of course, as usual, Stone is here with me in the studio. Victor Achutamaklo is also seated. But let's go onto the ground in Abidjan, where our man, Daniel Cranting, is on standby to bring us up to speed on what's been happening in both camps. So we'll get through to him in a bit and we'll start off the conversations. Guys, we've been rolling for weeks now and the moment has come.
I hate it that the AFCON is ending because we have seen a celebration of African football. We have seen the brilliance of the football itself. We have seen excellent production behind what we see on TV. So if you pay attention, you would realize that a lot of the things like fans carrying pots, the juju stuff that you used to see in the past have not surfaced or have not been given the spotlight in the manner that previous production teams for the AFCON have. What it says to you is that there is a deliberate attempt to retell or to change the narrative as far as the AFCON is concerned. Yes, religion and spirituality are a big part of who we are as a people. But that's not all there is to us. That's not all we need to show the world when it comes to the AFCON. We're seeing different things in the stands that excite all of us. A lot of people were heartbroken when Cape Verde got eliminated because of all the wonderful ladies that are in the stands. And that story of how inclusive the African games and the sheer number of ladies who attend the games, and it's quite instructive, and it says a lot about how much we sold the African game, to the extent that even if they are football tourists, you have a growing percentage of women interested in the game. Not just interested, buying replica jerseys, spending time at the stadium, going there to watch matches, being part of the experience, which means we're adding value to the brand that is the AFCON. As far as VAR is concerned, we've seen in the history of the VAR, since its introduction, the best use of the technology and the single tournament that has embodied everything that a VAR was supposed to do. So we're seeing decisions being taken with consistency, right? Decisions that if it happens in match A and the same scenario happens in the game a day later. I think after the Egypt-Mozambique match, there was a similar incident the day after. The decisions were spot on. They were the same. The time that it takes for them referees to consult the VAR and come up with these verdicts is record time. They are not delaying unnecessarily like it happens in Europe, like it happens in the Premier League and all of this. So you've got the timing, you've got the consistency with the decision, and these days there has been no ambiguity whatsoever about the so-called handball rule. When you watch European football, the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League especially, pundits, coaches often are quick to say that they no longer know what the handball rule is. But when you watch the AFCON, there is no ambiguity. There is no question about what the handball rule is. And it is not because the rules have changed. It is not because for this AFCON, CAF spoke to the refs and said, this is what it is. No. You have referees who know their job, who are actually good at it. And it's not just the match day officials on the pitch. In the VAR room, you have referees who are just as good. And the beautiful story for me is that these are not old heads, right? Our own Daniel Lai was the head of VAR for one of the games. Daniel Lai is still relatively young. He's not even 20 years in officiating. But the quality he brings on board makes nonsense of this idea that the older you grow in the profession, the better you become at it, because he simply has to apply the rules. And even when they've had to apply their discretion or use their discretion, you can tell that it is consistent with the spirit and letter of the law. These days, I don't think any of us or on any of our friends on the other networks have had reason to go and explain what the letter of the law means or what the spirit of the law means, because it is clear as day. The referee's interpretation leaves no room for any ambiguity or confusion in your mind. And so look, for all intents and purposes, this, for my money, has been the best AFCON in the history of the competition. From the production bit to what we're selling to the world, the officiating, the quality of the football, the pitches. Misato, the pitches. And
well,
in the past...
And these are issues of legacy that would have to take away with us from this tournament.
We can have issues about how Patrice Motsepe has run the African game, the influence of Gianni Infantino, and those are issues you cannot run away from. But when it comes to the AFCON and what he has delivered, have we heard any player or coach after any match complain about the quality of a playing surface?
Never.
At this tournament. It's not happened.
Never.
And it's not because they've been told to keep quiet. You can't shut a player up when the bumpy hard surfaces are posing a risk to their knees and their ankles. They will say it. And they've always done that in previous competitions. But this time they can tell that everything CAF is doing, the investment that they are making into the quality of the pitches. And they said quite a bit, didn't they? At the press conference before the tournament started, Patrice Motsepe said quite a bit, and he has been vindicated, and hats off to him.
Interesting stuff. Stone, we've been talking about the positives of this tournament. I mean, yesterday, Daniel was also, and we're going to get on the beat with Daniel in a second. But for you, up to this point, what will be the big takeouts from this tournament?
First of all, there are a couple of things, but one of the things that I was very frustrated about at the last AFCON, Senegal winning, was the camera work.
Okay.
It was all over the place. So something will happen, an incident will happen, and we don't have the clear VAR picture of what has happened. It will come from the side, or it will come from the back, or the camera. I was complaining because it was a problem. You cannot have the biggest football tournament in Africa and have that kind of camera work. It was horrible. But this AFCON, they give you all the angles. Like, you see everything to like the whole thing, just like the penalty, that we two penalties that we had, South Africa and Nigeria. They showed you almost all the angles. And one of the things I want to look at, because he was talking about it, but the referees have been spot on. I mean, Nigeria had just scored their second goal. And then the VAR says, oh, there might have been a penalty in the sequence.
At the other side.
and then he goes back.
Yeah.
And he checks it, and it's a penalty. All we admit is a penalty. He goes there, it's a penalty. I mean, this is a sequence that's already happened. Yeah. And now, I've seen some games, in some competitions, whereby the goal is given. And we know that, this is a fact. I don't want to mention competitions, but I've seen some very, very, things that we look at and say, come on now. And then the problem, and then the problem is that when we now come out, the players have to complain. The players will complain. The coaches sometimes will complain. And then you have a situation whereby the pundits will come out and be having all this talk and say, what is this, what is that, and all those stuff like that. When we come for the AFCON, it's straight to analysis. It's straight to the history of the game. It's this and that. And it has been absolutely amazing so far. And one of the things I will say again is the improvement of the football itself. I mean, this is the best football we have ever seen in any kind of African competition. This is the best. I mean, look at even the people, Nigeria, for example, that contains and tries to counter and everything like that. The build-up is beautiful to watch. They're not just playing, long ball everywhere. Those that attack South Africa, look at the way they play. It's beautiful to watch. Look at the way Cape Verde play. Look at the way DR Congo play. I mean, Côte d'Ivoire was able to limit them and everything, but look at the way Côte d'Ivoire, look at the way, the football is beautiful. Even Egypt did not come with a 1-0 situation to this AFCON. They came to play the beautiful game. They conceded, they scored, they were out there, everything. So I believe that this AFCON, let me not say I believe, because if I say I believe it, this is the best AFCON ever. In terms of the football, in terms of the referee, in terms of the usage of VR, which has been the best usage of VR since the inception of VR, in terms of the camera work, in terms of the pitches, in terms of the legends that have shown up, and the excitement, for the football all over the continent, in terms of the inclusivity of the women, of the children, of all kinds of people, in terms of the joy on the streets when we win. When was the last time that a country won and then it went all, the country celebrating and they've not won the AFCON? Look at Nigeria, look at Côte d'Ivoire, look at everybody. So it's amazing.
And that just reminds me of a video I saw on social media of the legendary Nwankwo Kanu there, celebrating with the team. It was just amazing. Let's now get on Zoom and have a conversation with our man on the ground, Daniel Kranting. We call him the Abidjan Boga. In our Ghanaian parlance, when somebody travels out of town, the person is a Boga. Charlie, everything cool for your side? I beg, unmute for me. Unmute for me, yeah? Yeah. All right, so we're struggling a bit to hear Daniel, so we're going to sort that out a little bit. So we'll get back on the ground. Okay, all right, so try it again. Let's see if we can get you loud and clear. You need to join with the... Okay, so you need to join with the internet audio in a few minutes, and then we get back to you, Daniel. Yeah? Great. So yeah, clearly something positive has gone on, and it just serves as a very good template for all those who will follow.
It has to be. And look, we've spoken extensively about how good this is and broken down the aspects where the improvements have come. But all of this would not have been possible if CAF itself had not done some introspection pre-tournament and made a deliberate attempt to change some of the things they had done. And I'll give you an example. When we have seen the VAR and even the assembly of referees or the selection of referees for matches in the CAF competitions, so CAF Champions League, Confederation Cup, the African Football League, the inaugural one, it has been done with priority given to proximity and association. So if Hearts of Oak are playing, say, AS Massa, right, in a CAF Champions League match, once the center referee is from Morocco, you are likely to have a North African contingent, all of them Arabic-speaking referees who can speak a bit of English and then communicate to the two teams. So you would have the center referee from Morocco and then the supporting cast from line 1, line 2, all of them, fourth official, all of them from Morocco. If it's from Egypt, it's the same. This time around, CAF has dished that. And if you look at the composition of the referees who have been selected for this game, especially for the VAR, they are from all over the continent. So the probability for camaraderie to become an encumbrance has been completely removed.
Squashed.
And this is important because in the context of the Premier League, there was the famous incident of Anthony Taylor making a mistake, and then his old pal Mike Dean refusing to check him even though he was the boss in charge of the VAR that day. So friendship became a barrier for competence and for what should have been the right thing to do. This time around, CAF says we don't care about the friendships or the relationships or who has worked with who before, as we have done. We are breaking tradition and introducing a certain variety and prioritizing competence. And what it shows you is an association that is reflective, that also is futuristic in being humble enough to admit what has not worked in the past, but more importantly, finding a solution that actually works. And they've had their challenges. I think in the first week, there was an incident where the feed across the continent went off. So everyone who was watching, irrespective of which broadcaster you had subscribed to, could not have access to the feed. But quickly, it was resolved. And when it came back, it was fantastic. It's been fantastic up until now. We've spoken about the VAR. And yesterday, I was having a conversation with Sicho and the guys about one of the things that has struck him. And he mentioned that the speed with which they can consider 3 or 4 scenarios in one game state or one action shot is remarkable. the South Africa red card that the centre-back was shown in the free kick in that game versus Nigeria. In one action spot, the referee had to consider whether or not the Nigerian forward was offside, whether or not it was a foul, whether or not the foul was outside the box, and whether or not the defender was the last man. So they had to check 4 things at a go, and they had it right, and it was timely. It did not delay unnecessarily. They did not confuse the player with any unseen characters in there. So for all intents and purposes, this has been a tournament that has now set the bar, right? And for each of the subsequent ones that we would go to, you would want to look out for the very things that we have seen that have made this tournament so enjoyable. I would not want to stress it too much and want to say that for the football part, we have to see progressive or transformative technical patterns from the teams that we have seen here. It's probably too much here. That's the work of the technical study group. But the biggest or the most important thing is the development of the game itself. And I think the stars of this tournament have shown us that if we invest in football properly, we are going to find world-class talents that will give us a reason to enjoy our football. Think of all of the guys who have excelled at this tournament. They have a brilliant story of having proper world-class education.
Interesting. Stone, and that brings us to the game itself. Starting off all of the action will be South Africa and DR Congo going up against each other to figure out who finishes 3rd and 4th. There's been talk about the significance of that game and whether we should just follow our friends in Europe and just let it go.
No, I'm backing South Africa to win that game.
Okay.
One of the major things that you could see from the South African team when they played Nigeria was the hunger. There was a hunger to win the game, and they had that chance, to win the game at the ending of the game, and which was wasted. And all this kind of stuff. Yeah, very clear chance was wasted. But at the end of the day, when you look at, I looked at DR Congo versus Côte d'Ivoire, and it was like a school lesson, because the attack of DR Congo that we were used to, Masuaku and all those guys, I didn't see that day. It was gone. I mean, Côte d'Ivoire were running the whole situation. I mean, they had chances. Hala should have, that game should have been 2 or 3-0. Just Hala alone. You look at the chances that they had and everything. But you look at South Africa, it was an end-to-end thing with Nigeria. It was a fight. It was a dog fight. It was into the trenches. So it was not a match where they just sat back and said, Nigeria will pack, we contain and counter us, and let's just leave them like that. No, it was a fight. And Nigeria got the win and everything. But in this match, this 3rd place match, I'm looking at who is coming with something to prove, who is coming with the hunger. And I'm looking at South Africa. They have something to prove. Because first of all, you look at the whole setup. They have one of the best centre-backs at this AFCON, Mvala. They have one of the best midfielders. They have Mokoena, they have Zwane. They have all those guys that are set up, that are already pissed off that they are not in the final. So I believe that they are going to, it's not going to be too much of a competition against DR Congo. South Africa has the better team. South Africa has the better goalkeeper. South Africa has the better defense. South Africa has the better midfield. South Africa has the better attackers. And I believe that this game, they are going to win.
You mentioned something very important, that factor of hunger. And I'm just asking myself, in this kind of scenario, especially with the disappointment that they are not in the final, could it take out the energy? Could it sap a bit of the energy? And could it put them in a certain mood where they're raising their hands or throwing their hands in the air and saying, well, do we really care? I'm saying this with specific reference to the game that Ghana played against Zambia back in 1996 when we lost out on the final, and of course, it was Bafana responsible for that one. The Black Stars did not really come to the party in that game. You do remember?
Yeah.
And it was like motivation was lost.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that something similar could happen tomorrow?
There's a big possibility. You see, the tricky thing for teams that have to play the 3rd place playoff that are not the host nation is that it is very easy for the motivation to go away, because everyone from the quarterfinal stage, the ambition is to win it. When you get to the semis and you are not able to win it, you are under no obligation or at least not as much obligation to compensate your fans with the third place playoff. For a lot of football fans, it's all or nothing. It's the title or nothing else. The only other team that under any obligation to go beyond that and still win, as we've come to see, are the hosts. So you can think of 2015, you can think of 2017, 2019. The only times that the host teams were essentially compelled probably would have to go back as far back as 2008, when we have to play, I think, the same Ivory Coast in the third place match that the Black Stars won by 4-2. AFCON 2010, the host did not even get as far. Ghana eliminated them in the quarter. So you had teams that essentially didn't really mind, right, that they were in that situation. But I feel for South Africa, though, it could be very good for them if they're able to win, because they have done very well to shed off this impression that they are a team that can lose some of those games that you don't expect them to. So in this tournament, when they have faced some teams from their own block in Namibia, they quickly dispatch those teams. When they face the tough test versus Morocco and then Tunisia, in opponents who tested their mental toughness, but also their discipline and tactical smartness or savviness on the pitch, they passed those with flying colors. What I would want to see in this game is essentially everything that they gave against Nigeria, because I felt that they proved in that game that they can stand toe-to-toe with the best of this continent. And look, it was a game they should have won. They had the better chances. They, to a certain extent, beat the Nigerians to submission in the sense that they stopped the Nigerians from playing and tried to exploit in those areas, although their own deficiencies came to the fore. So I don't expect too much from South Africa, but getting the results in this game will further entrench the position or add more credence to the fact that, look, there's a team that has come a long way from the team that a lot of people questioned only 2 months ago in November.
All right, so Stone, you have laid it clear that it's a South Africa game, tomorrow. Let's now look at what DR Congo could do in terms of giving a surprise package on the day. I'm not sure the projection from home when they were coming for this tournament was to come and win it, as much as some other teams.
I think this game is better suited to DR Congo than South Africa.
Tell me why.
That they are not under pressure.
Okay.
I think that all of us were quick to blast Cedric Bakambu for his wastefulness in all of those games. But maybe a part of that was the weight of expectations. Maybe a part of that had to do with the fact that he knew that for the first time in many years, 30 years in the history of DR Congo, they were in a place where they actually had a very functional team, and that he was the guy all of these chances were falling to. So whatever he had done at Villarreal, wherever, essentially did not matter. The most important aspect of his career was leading his national team to something significant in terms of the silverware. And maybe he crumbled under that pressure. Now that they lost that semi-final, I don't think the Congolese people are going to essentially throw them under the bus or be excessively critical because they lost the third place playoff. So this is one game where they could actually go out there, all of them, and you see, it was not only Cedric Bakambu. When we watched the Gal Kakuta in that game on Wednesday, he did not look himself. I don't want to say he looked scared, but he wasn't showing up to receive the ball in the areas that he used to do in the past. And we saw what the one time, I think on the 37 minutes or so, the one time he got in behind the Ivorian defense, we saw what he could do. But whether the sense of occasion, whether the team structure was not put together in a manner that made it easier for his teammates to find him in areas where he can hurt the opponents. I'm just saying, this is one game where they are unshackled. They can be a bit more expressive, perhaps take a bit more risks in this game without the fear of losing something significant. They've lost the most important title anyway, or the most important tickets, which would have been to take them to the final. And so this is a game that I think if they can look beyond the failings of Wednesday, play the football that they played pre-Wednesday, that served them so well. Yes, we know they can be wasteful, but when things clicked for them in that quarterfinal, we saw how devastating they looked in that game. And I don't see why why they cannot replicate that or have approached this with the same mentality, because the game favors them more.
I just want to say something.
Add it.
I do not agree with that. I think the game favors South Africa more because when South Africa lost against Mali, right? What happened in the next couple of games? When they were beaten, they came out as wounded lions and they destroyed Namibia. They came on, they kept going and they kept going. The South African team that we have seen at this AFCON is a team that doesn't take things lying down. And they have an experienced coach who have looked at and everything. They don't take things lying down. And I'm looking at Mvala, I'm looking at Mokoena, I'm looking at evidence, I'm looking at these guys, I'm looking at the goalkeeper. These guys are not going to go up against DR Congo and actually allow DR Congo to beat them. It's not going to happen. DR Congo, they've played, in my opinion, they've played their best football. They have given all. I don't think DR Congo has anything in the tank to give again.
Okay.
I think this match is going to be a beating to submission. South Africa will come out and humble DR Congo. Might not be a large scoreline, but you're going to see dominance. They're going to come out angry, just like they did in the group stage where they beat everybody. They're going to come back again. They're going to beat DR Congo. It's going to be absolute domination, and DR Congo is going to come forth.
Interesting stuff there. I'm going to ask both of you about Williams. Williams is now in the history books for saving 4 penalties during a shootout in the competition. It's never happened before since CAF instituted the Africa Cup of
Just
Nations.
CAF.
Yeah.
But FIFA
international football, is concerned, and that is a big deal. And I think that here in Africa, we need to hype this and talk about it so that we don't have the Asamoah Cristiano Ronaldo situation occurring again.
Again.
Yeah.
It's an important thing.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, we tend not to be able to celebrate our heroes when they are able to achieve remarkable stuff like this. And I think it's a beautiful story for the AFCON that you have. Look, 4 penalty shootouts, 4 penalty saves in one shootout is crazy. Words cannot begin to explain. You cannot exaggerate it. It is what it is. It is otherworldly.
And to even think that he got the direction of Troost-Ekong's ball, only that there was a bit of pace behind it, there was a bit of extra power behind it, because of which he couldn't grab it.
We have celebrated in the past the informed guesses of goalkeepers in other jurisdictions and other clubs, because they will do their research and look at who takes the penalty spots.
Which direction is likely to go.
Do.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen anyone guess to with this degree of accuracy.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, Daniel, hopefully now we can hear you. Everything okay? Okay, I just don't know why this is not working. We'll try it again, Daniel. We'll try it again. We can't seem to hear you. So we'll try this again so that we can get what is happening on the ground, in Abidjan. All right, so gentlemen, I think it's time to now zoom in on the final game. We'll be getting to Daniel very shortly. Let's zoom in on the final game. This is one that, that has loads and loads of angles in terms of the big story that is told. We've spoken about the element of organization of this tournament, which has been brilliant. And now we want to look at the game. There's no doubt about the quality, the quality that these two sides are going to sell to us. And that's what I'm going to be asking you when we come back from this round of messages here on the show, which is proudly sponsored by MTN. MTN, everywhere you go. So analysis on Nigeria versus Côte d'Ivoire when we return from the messages. This is AFCON today, and it's here on Joy Prime, which is also on 281 on DSTV. Who wins it? So many conversations ongoing about who has the strength technically and mentally to go through these 90 minutes or more to pick up this very big prize, AFCON 2023 in Côte d'Ivoire. Gentlemen, now the game and how it should be approached. The last 24 hours, which is tomorrow towards Sunday, will be very crucial for both teams. And sometimes you look at the mind games that both teams play. An example is when Côte d'Ivoire last won it against Ghana. The man Hervé Renard, I'm told, came to the Black Stars Hotel, just came to walk around there. And I'm saying to myself, okay, all of these are part of the psychological games. And there are more that will be done aside sticking to a game plan and you know, taking yourself through all of those motions to get yourself ready for the game?
It's the mentality, it's the play, you know, it's the whole gameplay, it's the chess game, right? Nigeria has faced Côte d'Ivoire in the group stage where we dispatched of them quickly. What to say? I want to make this statement very clearly before I go into the deep stuff.
Stone wasn't this confident when we started the
No, I wasn't this confident, but at this point right now, you know, once we start winning, my confidence grew.
This is the attitude that will get them beaten.
No. I've had.
It's the attitude that will get them beaten.
No. I've had this.
Is this to say that you are pro Côte d'Ivoire for this?
He's always against me. He supported everyone. He has supported everybody, including South Africa. And we defeated. Now let me say this very well. Put the camera on me. Put it on me. I want the camera on me. Okay, is it on me? Am I there? All right, listen to me. Nigeria will win AFCON 2023. It's straightforward. And let me tell you what, you can now put the camera on everybody so they can see their face. Now listen, let me be straightforward about this. Let me tell you why. Now, first of all, their striker, which I've brought in, Hala, is a wasteful striker. He's going to get his chances because Nigeria's defense is not improbable. It's not a defense that you won't get chance again. You'll get chances. But Hala is wasteful. So I'm not expecting any goal from him. That's zero. Okay? Now, the person that we can look at again is Fofana and say Fofana outside box shot. But we all know what Wabali did to him in the first game. Wabali caught the ball and was looking at him like, bro, is that all you have to offer? Okay, so, and we know how Wabali has been tested in the penalties. We know how Wabali has been tested against Angola. Nothing. Angola could not touch him. We know how the defense has been tested. Now, I'm bringing this in terms of reality. Osimhen is a man that has been insulted by many people. Talking about, you are the African Player of the Year, current African player, you have 1 goal. But he has been exceptional for Nigeria in opening spaces. But some people don't want to see that. I'm telling you, this final...
That one is a fact.
This final, this final belongs to Osimhen. This final belongs to Osimhen. And this final is where he's going to show himself. I'm telling you right now, look critically at this Nigerian national team. Does this team look like a team that wants to lose to Côte d'Ivoire? I don't care. They can have 11 men. They can pack the stadium with 35,000 Côte d'Ivoire people singing their French song and all they want to do. They can sing whatever they want to sing. They can scream, they can shout, they can boo the Nigerian national team. But I'm telling you critically right now, by the time 90 minutes is over, because we're not doing extra time.
Okay.
We're not doing it's 90 minutes.
No extra time.
We're not doing extra time.
Very well.
By the time South Africa was a different case, those guys came to fight us. That was a dog fight. It was back to back.
And you think Côte d'Ivoire will not fight you?
They will come to fight. They will come to fight us.
With their home fans.
They will come to fight us, but they don't have as good as a team as South Africa. That's the truth about life. South Africa has a better goalkeeper. South Africa has a better defense. South Africa, maybe the midfield of Côte d'Ivoire is better, but South Africa has a better attack.
Very well.
South Africa has a better team than Côte d'Ivoire. So I'm expecting Côte d'Ivoire to come fight us. But when an inferior team comes to fight you, it's like you bring a mathematics of a nursery school student, bring it to a university student.
Very well.
So
there is Stone being very unapologetically confident about the chances of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I'll be going to Victor Achitamaklo in a bit so he can also tell us what he feels the home team will bring to the party in terms of neutralizing a possible effect of the Super Eagles to take this trophy away. That sure is going to be another story to tell for the home fans if this is done right before them and is snatched away, just like Cameroon did it in Nigeria back in the year 2000.
Don't do that.
No, but it's history. It's part of it. It's part of it.
Why?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Come on now. Why?
All right, let's see if this time we could hear Daniel. Daniel, all good now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, finally.
The oracle has worked.
You have to bring us, the report on who you consulted, Yeah. Yeah. Look, Daniel, in town, what's the look and feel like in Abidjan? What are the conversations like? Look, it's home, and it won't be any better story to tell than win this at home.
Yeah, I've spoken to a number of journalists. I've spoken to a number of fans, especially my Uber drivers around in town. You ask them questions about what they are feeling towards their team is. And they genuinely believe this is destiny. They genuinely believe that there is some spiritual forces that has literally just written the Ivory Coast name on the trophy. Because One guy specifically told me that, look, 2 weeks ago, they knew they were going out. They had to depend on, first of all, Mali. Mali let them down. Then they had to hope and pray that Morocco did the job. Then Morocco did the job. But even after that, they were going to face the defending champions. And considering how they had played in the group stages, they in their heads, and he told me basically that they were just hoping that their team would come out and give a good performance. They didn't expect to win. And then they went on to win. You look at the miracle that happened in that game against, where was it, Mali in the quarterfinals. Absolutely shocking, going down a man, going down a goal, but yet some way, somehow managing to win it even before it went to a penalty shootout. So they believe that this is destiny. When they looked at their team, especially in that semi-final against DRC, the way Côte d'Ivoire played, in fact, since Fight took over, that for me has been the most controlled performance that they've had. They dominated the Congolese. We just didn't see that very expansive Congolese side that we had seen throughout the competition. Their chances were limited. Fofana had very little to do. So they believe that, look, in as much as Fai is doing a really good job or has done a really good job so far, they believe that it is destiny. And they believe that facing Nigeria in the final was written in the stars from the beginning. In fact, one person mentioned to me that the official song was a collaboration between an Ivorian and then a Nigerian. Before my mind went to the fact that, yes, it was actually a Mialadi, a magic system. So this was, they believe it's written in the stars and they are supposed to face Nigeria in the final. And they believe they are going to carry the trophy.
Well, if anybody wants to refer to the issue of the stars and all of the numerology and all the, the superstition and all of that, well, the last time any of that happened, as far as we can remember, which was with Zambia, going to pay homage at the site where the national team had it, they had it right. So, well, let's just see. It probably may be. But tell me how, you've painted the picture very well, but now it also boils down to the two sides. You've seen some very good football. From the statistics and what we've seen so far, who has the slight edge? And this is pure football matters, not, big day game mentality. No.
Look, pure football matters. It's extremely difficult to, even in terms of a slight edge, I think it's bank on 50-50. Why am I saying that? I think from the beginning of the tournament, and Stone did a preview with us on TV and on radio, before anybody kicked the ball, he didn't even think Nigeria were going to reach the stage. In fact, if I quite remember, he mentioned something around if Nigeria reached the knockout round, he would be satisfied. But then after that first game against Equatorial Guinea, we've seen a very different Nigerian team.
And now he's more than satisfied and is now in a different realm as well.
That's typical of them. I'm not surprised. I've met a couple of colleague journalists who also held the same opinion, and all of a sudden they've changed their minds. But if it was a Black Stars, I'll do the same, so I don't fault him for that. But look, we've seen a different Nigeria throughout. But after the first game, built on defensive solidity, hardly give chances away, very difficult to break down. And that front three turns into a front two with Lukman and Osimhen have really built a very good partnership. So you can't bank against them. Also, when you look at the Ivorian team after the group stages, the work that Fire has done is a completely different team to the group, the team that played in the group stages. And even the players are given that testimony. Seko Fofana mentioned it to me, Willie Boli mentioned it to me, Jean-Michel Seri also mentioned it to me, the fact that Amas Fire has completely changed the atmosphere in the dressing room. When it comes to his selections, he's spot on. When it comes to substitutions, he's very timely. And the tactical instructions, we've even seen that they have varied from game to game basis. The way they played against Senegal is very different from their display against Mali, very different from their display against the Congolese. So he seems like a very pragmatic manager that knows how to go into games to get the better of the opposition depending on how they play. Now, the reason why I may slightly give Ivory Coast the advantage is because for Nigeria, we've seen a certain trend from the second game up until this point. That's back three, defensive solidity. We know they are very dangerous on the counter. But for the Ivorians, they set up based on how the opposition sets up. So I don't think Nigeria can sit down and say, this is how Ivory Coast are going to play, so we are going to pin them down. And for the first time in the competition since the second game, we saw Nigeria carve open quite a number of times, and that was against South Africa. I don't think the Ivorians will be that wasteful. And Stone mentions Halle being wasteful. I think it was just a one-off. in terms of wastefulness in this competition, I don't think anybody has been more wasteful than Victor Osimhen, which is very unlike him. But even then, you will not bet against him in the final. Halle is a top-class striker. If you look at the chance he missed in the first half against DRC and the goal he scored, it's just basically +1 -1. He was going to score anyway, and it wasn't necessarily about how big or how small the chance is. He has that ability. And for me, it's not even his finishing ability, his ability to bring the other attacking players into play. His link-up play is he's second to no one when it comes to that style of football at this competition. So he is dangerous. And even with the Ivory Coast selection, you look at how it varies from game to game. I don't think Nigeria will know who exactly is going to start for the Ivorians, who is not going to start, and even the tactical instructions that is going to be given to them. So I may give Ivory Coast a very, very slight advantage going into this one. But again, look, this Nigerian team under Pesero they've shut me up. In fact, they shut everybody up, even Nigerians themselves. And I think that is why most of them believe that even in the midst of what was so glaring, they've been able to overcome the barriers, and not like the way Ivory Coast have done it. They've been able to do it pretty easily. Ivory Coast have snapped through. So penalties against Senegal, extra time against Mali. It was really the DRC game that was comfortable. But Nigeria has dismissed opposition very easily and have been able to nullify the opposition. So for me, this is a perfect final. It's not a final where you would look at it and say this team is going to win or this team is going to win. And even when you are saying, even if you are going to say one team is going to win, you'll be looking at big team mentality, you'll be looking at history. No. Even in terms of football, strictly tactical play is very difficult to separate both teams. So for me, this is the perfect AFCON final.
Perfect AFCON final indeed. I couldn't agree with you more. But Daniel, once all is said and done, there will be a winner. Even if the game goes on for 5 hours, there will be a winner. Okay. If you're pushed to give a scoreline, I mean, based on 90 minutes of play, what are we slightly looking at? What are we looking at?
Since I said I can't separate it based on football, I'll go based on my feelings. I don't want Nigeria to win, so I'll be hoping that the Ivory Coast will win. And I'll be hoping that Ivory Coast will do it in 90 minutes because I don't have the heart.
Slim scoreline, big one?
Penalties. So I'll go 1-0 to Ivory Coast. And it will be
1-0
to score the goal just to shut two now.
Very well, very well. In the unlikely instance where there is a penalty shootout?
Côte d'Ivoire win that.
Côte d'Ivoire, just like they did against Ghana on 2 occasions.
Blasphemy.
Yes.
Okay, well...
Osimhen to miss his penalty.
Blasphemy.
Osimhen will miss. Okay, well, that is according to Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much. You need to hurry off to that news conference. We're told that one of them is happening in the next few moments. Thanks so much for the time. We'll catch you on radio tomorrow on Joy, together with your other colleagues from Côte d'Ivoire. Thanks so much. Daniel Kranting is our man on the ground, and he's been bringing us up to speed on happenings there in Abidjan as we build up to the big final, and also doing some analysis as well. We'll be coming here to the studio to take a quick look at how it should look tactically, technically, and of course, all the other factors that come together to make a good AFCON final. We're still here on AFCON today. We're going into the final lap of the show after this round of messages. The conversations are getting very heated here in the studio. The man with statistics is already here. Karim, you were just telling me something. Can you, bring that admission again?
No, I'm not repeating.
Okay. That your heart is telling you something and your mouth wants to say something?
Yes.
Karim, be bold. Say it.
Tell me about it.
My heart is with Nigeria, but my mouth wants Côte d'Ivoire to win.
Wars
I see.
have been started for less. Wars have been started for less.
Sellotape your mouth.
We will not take this betrayal.
Stick to your heart. Sellotape your mouth.
Now,
All right, let's go.
have you been desperate before?
Desperate?
When you are desperate and you want something, have you been into that situation?
Yeah. And that goes to inform the way you behave.
Well,
yes.
When you are desperate, it fuels passion, determination in you to work for something. And we've seen passion and determination in the Côte d'Ivoire players.
Thank you.
And innovation in how the tactics MS5 is using.
I see.
There is a lot at stake in this game.
Yes.
But there is no favorite. That one is a fact. There is no favorite. See, these two teams have met 7 times previously at the AFCON. 3 have gone the way of Nigeria. Côte d'Ivoire have won 2. And 2 ended in draws. In that, Nigeria has 3 AFCON titles, right? in those runs, they've met Nigeria, Côte d'Ivoire, and all of them, beating them twice and one ended in draw. In 1980, host and win, right? It ended goalless in the group stages. Then in 1994, that is when this run started, the last 5 started. In 1994, they met again in the semi-finals, and Nigeria won 4-2 after 2-2 in extra time.
In regulation
yes.
time.
Then in 2013, they met again in the semis of quarterfinal. Nigeria won 2-1. This time, maybe the time that Côte d'Ivoire will stop that run. In the last 5 meetings, all of them are in the AFCON. Nigeria won 2 of them. Côte d'Ivoire also won 2 of them, one ending in draw. This is the first one, 1994. I've already explained that what happened in that game. Then in 2006, again, Nigeria won that one. Then this is the last 5 games of Nigeria. They've won 4 of them, just the last one against South Africa, ending in draw. And they've scored 5 goals in that run and conceded just 1. Then let's move to Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire's last 5 games, they've lost 2 of them, won 3, including in extra time and penalties. Then they've scored 3 goals and conceded 6. They are leaking goals, but after that near escape, we've seen what they are doing. They are dangerous. After that escape, Senegal, having lost a game before they met, and they beat them and removed them from the tournament. Then they met again. Mali. Mali has not won a game. They've not lost a game before this meeting. Then Côte d'Ivoire beat them 2-1 in extra time. Then against Congo, before that, Congo has not also met a game. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Nigeria has not lost a game up to this point. And they are meeting on Sunday. Maybe. That is where Nigeria's winning or unbeaten streak will also end. This is more important. This is how the games are going to the game is going to be played on Sunday. It is going to be a counter-attacking team that doesn't like to play a lot of the ball in Nigeria versus a team in Côte d'Ivoire that have the 4th most accurate average possession in the tournament up to this point. Let's look at 10+ passing sequences. That is like the team being able to pass the ball to each other around 10 times before they are being dispossessed. Côte d'Ivoire have 30 more of that than Nigeria. Then let's talk about high turnovers. It is about winning the ball in dangerous areas, approximately 40 meters outside of the opposition's goal. And Côte d'Ivoire had 40 of that, and Nigeria has just 29. That is 11 times more than. It means that Côte d'Ivoire's high pressing game is very effective at this tournament. Then let's look at press sequences, very similar to turnovers. It is a defensive action helping the team to win the ball off the opposition before they make 2 or 3 passes. And Côte d'Ivoire is ahead in that one too. It is just about how effective their press is with Sekou Fofana, Seri, and the others in midfield. Then let's go to direct attacks. It is about how the long ball the team use, trying to force errors of the opponent and going direct to score the goals. And Côte d'Ivoire have 10 of them, and Nigeria has 8. Côte d'Ivoire won 1 goal from those direct attacks.
All right, guys, time is not our best friend right now. So, Victor.
He's done the job.
He's done the job for you.
He's done the job.
So
there will be green tears on Sunday.
There'll be green tears on Sunday. Okay. And that is sacrilegious.
I want to, give me 30 seconds. Do I have 30 seconds?
No.
10 seconds.
We don't have
5 seconds.
Accept that you
I want to say something. Côte d'Ivoire, thank you so much for removing Senegal for us. We appreciate you. We love you from our hearts. But this AFCON belongs to us. Thank you very much.
Okay, message from Nigeria. That's what wraps it up today on this final edition. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to MTN for sponsoring. On Monday, we sure will do a review on the Joy News channel and, of course, on all of our other bulletins here on Joy Prime. Thanks to the guys. Thank you, Stone, and thank you, Achu. Thank you, Karim. We will be looking ahead to that big game, and hopefully, these predictions come through. So who wins it? I don't know. Nathaniel Atto, that's my name, and I have love for sport.